Oh, she was a long, cool woman in a black dress. You smell that? That is the smell of opportunity. You make me so very happy. Don't drink all your coffee. Put it in the fridge. Drink it the next day. Elite male strategy. Morning roundup. This belt is finally getting too worn. So it's been a good run. It's time to belt it up. David Can, you guys will remember that we tightened up the belts on this one, and it seems to have pretty much solved the problem. So sometimes belts are the problem. That's today's lesson on Sesame Street. And we are cheesing it up. Looks like it's finally gonna work. Something I am very pleased about. T-Rex skull. Executed perfectly. Porsche Einstein. Smilodon skull. Coming along beautifully. And of course, we've got the Italian hand. Hey! And perhaps most excitingly and somewhat stringingly, this is the neck holder thing for the vertical fire guitar hanger. And I gotta say, this printer is whatever the opposite of the MVP is. This printer is the real LVP. Something that was happening, this extruder motor was getting pretty hot, which is a little weird. I guess we'll replace it. This entire hot end is like basically brand new. So I don't know why it would be getting clogged over and over and over and over and over and over again, but that's almost the only thing we haven't replaced yet. So I watched this video about, it's kind of talking about how people get really obsessed with conspiracy theories and sort of saying, you know, maybe there's a little too much of that nowadays. You know, a useful question kind of occurred to me. How do you know when you've gone too far? When you've gotten into conspiracy theories and stuff too much? How do you know how to limit that? And it's a really relevant question, not just because people are getting super into conspiracy theories, but also because, like, conspiracy theories, it almost shouldn't be one word, because it's really this like vast spectrum. Like, there are conspiracy theories that almost everybody or huge amounts of people believe. Like, I think it's 60-70% of the US public doesn't believe the official story on JFK. Like, at that point, it almost stops just being a conspiracy theory. It's only still a theory because nobody really knows exactly what happened. Although you can write in the comments if you've solved it. So there's stuff like that that's kind of normal almost. And that ranges all the way to like the earth is hollow. So there kind of is an epistemological question here. So obviously there's a reason this is a relevant question. And I think I've found an angle on this that I've never really heard anybody take. Also, Duncan. Man, I'm just feeling really, really good today. And the Duncan is helping. So maybe the way to attack this, let's think about what a normal conspiracy theory conversation goes like, or what a conspiracy theory debate is like. If you've watched a lot of discussions or debates on this, what these things always are, it's like, maybe I need to think of a real one. Let's just go with flat earth. I'm kind of saying this because I've watched a lot of them. You know, the flat earth debates are always like, is this true? And like one person is saying yes and the other person is saying no. So person A gives a bunch of arguments for why the earth is flat, and person B rebuts those arguments and maybe gives other arguments about why it's not flat. I'm not saying people shouldn't have that discussion. Go ahead, get into it. My basic premise is the way to know when you've gone too far with conspiracy theories. How is this making you a better person? Put another way, how is this bringing about virtue in you? How is this developing character in you? And I'm saying that as a real question. This might be a longer discussion, so I'm driving through the hood right now. Not really, but there is a pretty low income area of Nacogdoches, and honestly, I kind of like going through it. Okay, so what virtues is conspiracy theory stuff bringing about in you, potentially? If we're steel manning this as much as possible, it would be like wisdom, you know, discernment. I mean, you could even kind of throw in courage, right? Like, you know, Nietzsche said, a man of virtue must not only love his enemies, but hate his friends. And what he meant by that is like, look, if you never disagree with your friends or take a different perspective from your friends, you're not fundamentally being courageous. Like, there's physical courage for sure, and that's often a good thing, but then there's moral courage, the courage to actually stand up for something. And like, maybe in the right situations, having an unorthodox view of things could be courageous. And then, like I said, wisdom. You know, you don't want to be naive. You don't want to be totally naive, let's just put it that way. Maybe you could also say there's sort of an element of taking responsibility, you know, at least responsibility to educate yourself and understand how things work, and then maybe you can have some kind of influence in marginal ways. So from that analysis, getting into conspiracy theories to some extent isn't necessarily unvirtuous. Okay, this kind of just transformed into a country drive. I'm gonna be honest, I've never even been to this part of Nacogdoches. There's like a whole nother park out here. I'm discovering new things every day. There's a disc golf thing. Well, anyway, let's give the counter case. What ways can getting into conspiracy theories be unvirtuous? The first thing that occurs to me is the responsibility thing. You know, really, a lot of it's kind of communicating to you that you are powerless, or at least you're focusing on things that you are. That dog kind of scared the crap out of me. You're focusing on things that you are powerless over. And some of those things may not even be real, but some of it maybe is real, and it's stuff you can't do anything about. So being weak definitely encourages you to not be responsible, because it's like, why would you be responsible for things that you can't do anything about? And if you're focusing especially primarily on that kind of thing in your life, then you're just not going to feel efficacious, and that is bad. There's also this thing of like, you're being unwise, or you're not being prudent in another way, which is with your time. Like, time is a resource, effort is a resource, and there's a lot of problems in the world, you know? We could be solving, there's stuff we could be solving, or you could be solving in your community at least. And if you're doing one thing, you're not doing something else. So if you're wasting time, you're also just not helping people. Jeez Louise, look at that. Ugh. I think another thing I would say is, in the same way that conspiratorial things can bring about discernment in you, I mean, it can also not bring about discernment in you. I don't know what the opposite of discernment is, but certainly that can be a thing. It's like, if you get really deep into conspiracy theories, you might really lose discernment. You might be able to not look at normal life in the way that like a reasonable person would. So that's not particularly virtuous. I mean, another big one, this kind of sounds basic, but it is true as far as I can tell. You can get so deep into conspiracy theories that you kind of just don't love people anymore. Or you don't love virtuous people. You don't love people in the way that you should love people. Let's just say it that way. Like, one of the things you should be doing in life is loving virtuous people and virtuous actions. You should be aiming at high things, not low things, basically. And so we can all probably think of situations where people get conspiratorial, and then it's like something good happens, or something that seems like it's good at least, and they can just like find all these reasons why it's not actually good, and here are all the downsides to that thing. And then it's just kind of like, you're not even appreciating good things anymore. There's just a certain kind of person that can tell you why anything is bad, because almost everything is bad in some way. You know, like in developing countries, even in a really good scenario, which often isn't the case, everyone starts out poor, and then things develop, and then you start having rich people, you start having middle-class people, and yes, some people are still poor, but like, that's better than just everybody being poor. But you could look at that and be like, well, it sucks that there's like inequality there, and in some ways it does. Like, there's always something to say. That's basically what I'm trying to get at. It's like, there's always something to say that's negative, and conspiratorial thinking can really exacerbate that. Maybe lastly, we can think about courage. At first, going down the conspiracy rabbit hole kind of is courageous. You know, you're taking your default beliefs and actually questioning them, which takes a certain amount of courage for sure. But like all things, there's no easy virtue. And at a certain point, it becomes easier to just think conspiratorially than really hold yourself to a standard. Hold yourself to a standard of truth. Truth is that which correctly comports with reality. So a lot of people don't want reality to be the standard because it's more difficult. Whereas if whatever you think just happens to be the standard, you know, you're not really having to grapple with something you're uncomfortable with. In some sense, I think that's what we need to understand the virtue of critical thinking or philosophical thinking. That's what it is. It's making something other than you the higher standard. So in the same way, like postmodern thinking, which doesn't even really believe there is such a thing as actual truth, in the same way that that's kind of not virtuous for a variety of reasons, you know, that's kind of what conspiratorial thinking can become. The point of life is not to know everything or understand everything. The point of life is to develop character and become a virtuous person and live a virtuous life. It's like, maybe to some extent, some conspiracy stuff could fit into that, I guess. But just be mindful of when you're definitely not doing that. So yeah, the reason I made this rant is because I don't think I've ever heard anybody really say this. Since the other printer was being a little rambunctious, we are printing the larger fire guitar holder piece on this one. Let's package some things. Of course, we have the Chinese dragon guitar holder. This is the first one that sold. And a very gorgeous dolphin. Hey, you guys remember the sperm whale? Somebody just left a good review on that. And somebody else bought a guitar octopus. Yes! Yes! Yeah, boy! Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Also, making it even better, the guitar octo that sold in bronze. We don't have a listing for bronze yet, so that's one more. That's one more guitar wall holder that somebody paid me to make. So it's time to get some of the full-size CR10s in the game. We've kind of had enough running to handle things before, but it's getting a little crazy. The guitar octos print on these, so it's time to get some soldiers in the field. All right, putting a new belt on this bad boy. This printer has served me extremely well for years and years and years. It's time to do the belts. So it's like giving the dinosaur a hot massage. I think the order of operations here is going to be to loosen this, push this in, take this from the little thing that the belt attaches to, take the belt off, and then reverse the entire process basically. It's tempting to try to do this without taking the bed off, but it just sucks so much to do that you might as well just do this. I'm sure everybody has their own way of getting the belt through the extrusion, but what I like to do is zip tie the old belt to the new belt and pull the whole thing all the way through. There we go. Oh yeah. And we got this one back in the game too. Let's package a couple things. This, of course, is the beef oven. A little puggy. Big Dolfo. And it's time to ship the Mark Twain. We're gonna paint some stuff. Big Einstein can. And we've got a Moai right here. And here we've got classic Italian hand. Well, we got a lot done today. This is the fire right here, the lower part of the fire vertical, and it's coming out nice. I think we're gonna have a nice result from this. In the category of gratitude today, seeing the new guitar stuff sell regularly, it's pretty special. Yep, that's what I'm most grateful for. It's gonna be really fun when we get the first vertical holder done. It's gonna be a real looker. Let's see what we got on Discord. A lot of you have joined the Discord. Very, very cool. Welcome aboard. Made in the Spider Shed says, as the poet Chumbawamba once said, I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. See, it's nice when you provide the full quote, just so we get the context. Zagabog says, you underestimate us. We know who Arthur Brown is. Well, good. The Ian MCE says, exactly. It's grit. Grit is the difference. There's a good book on it. It's called Grit. What an appropriately named book. Oh, I'm pretty beat. Tell me in the comments what you're grateful for. We are the Gratitude Gang, and we are grateful for things. What small moments of levity are you experiencing this fine evening or morning? It's probably morning for a lot of you. When's the last time you've had an omelet? A delicious, savory omelet? I'd love to know in the comments. Please leave a comment. Please share with me your experience of this life. I will catch you on the next episode. Peace out.